Hello and welcome to Monday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic. I've noticed it's getting darker a lot earlier, so I'm going to have to get better lighting in my room, I think. What have we got today? We have a hybrid puzzle in the sense that it combines two popular rule sets. It combines crop key rules and XV Sudoku rules. And the author of this puzzle, well, none other than Phistomefel, which basically means this puzzle has more cleverness in it than you can shake a stick at. How much cleverness is that? Well, it is a great deal. Now, before I read you the rules, let me just give a quick shout out for our Patreon page. You can access that by the link under the video, and I'll try and remember to put a card on the screen now. Big thank you to all of those of you who support us there. It's $2 a month for a lot of the content. $3 a month also gets you some extra video content as well. And we do make a lot of effort to try and make it worth your while. So at the moment we've got Mark's solve of the latest Times Monthly special cryptic crossword, which is it's very interesting to watch, frankly. If you have any interest in crosswords at all, because I believe that Mark is probably the only person on the planet who could even come close to solving that puzzle without using a dictionary, which is what he does, let alone to do that in a video length time. So yeah, it's an interesting thing to see. And we've also got my solve of Bob Eduardo da Vinci's cosmology puzzle, and that is a brilliant logic problem. And if you want to see me struggle, you can definitely watch that video and take a lot of pleasure from it. And of course, on the 1st of September, we've got Scott Strossal's Pirate Puzzle Hunt coming up, and that features a number of beautiful puzzles. So yeah, do look out for that too. Now, what are the rules of today's puzzle? Let me read them to you. We have normal Sudoku rules apply. A black dot between two cells means that one of the digits in the cells is exactly double the other. A white dot means between two cells means that the two digits in the cells must be consecutive. A V between two cells means the two digits in those cells add up to 5. An X between two cells means the two digits in those cells add up to 10. And the difference, the new bit, is that not all possible black and white dots, X's and V's are indicated. Now, normally when you see these XV Sudokus or crop key Sudokus, the negative constraint is very important. So if, for example, this square was a 1 and this square was a 4, or you wondered whether this was a possibility in the finished grid, you would know it couldn't be, because there would be no V between these two cells. In this puzzle, no such restriction exists, so it's absolutely possible to have cells summing to 5, cells summing to 10, cells being double one another, and cells being consecutive in all of the places where they are not marked. So it's going to be interesting. Phistomefel, he's always a complete genius, so do try the puzzle. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual. With that, I get to play Let's Get Cracking. And the thing that struck me as I was putting this into our software was whether Phistomefel might even be trolling me with these two initial given digits here, which are the digit 5. Now, why might I think that? Well, it's because in the last XV video that I did, I made a comment about 5 being a useless digit in these puzzles because that's just how it always seems to me when I solve them. Whereas a number of you then commented and said, oh, no, 5 is the most powerful digit in an XV Sudoku because you can never put a 5 on a V or an X, because if it's on an X you have to put 2 5s. If it's on a V you have to accompany it with a 0, which is impossible. So the fact that the only given digits here are 5s is a little bit concerning. 5 in box 1, look, is a bit restricted. You can't put it on a V, so you've got to put it in one of two places. Now, where do we look? Not very many black dots in the grid. A few white dots. 3 consecutive pairs down column 9 there, look. That's often quite important, that sort of thing, but it's very hard to use at the start because we obviously have a completely open set of digits to choose from. 5 consecutive digits there in box 7. Look, there's dots between every single one of those cells. In fact, okay, I can get a digit from this. So let's look at this. These digits are all consecutive. So we've got to pick 5 consecutive digits from the digits 1 to 9. Now, however you might choose to do that, you will find it's impossible to do that without selecting one of those digits as a 5. Now, if we know one of those digits is a 5, and there's a 5 in this column, we know one of those 2 digits must be a 5, and that does in fact give us a 5 in the grid. Now 5s here and here mean that 5 must go in one of those 3, and it can't go on the X, because that would put another 5 in the domino, so that's a 5 in one of these 2. And this is on a white dot. So the other digit that accompanies the 5 here will have to be a 4 or a 6. So the options for these 2 squares are from the digits 4, 5 and 6. Which means the X clue here now can't be a 4-6 pair, because that would mean we'd have no option for the second digit in this domino. But unfortunately we don't know anything else about this row yet. Okay. Now look, we've got a V clue here and a V clue here. Now these can't be the same. There are 2 ways of making 5 in a domino. You can have 2, 3 or 1, 4. Now we can't have repeated, so if this was, I don't know, if that's 2 and 3, this now would have to be 1 and 4, because this square could be neither 2 or 3. So we know that these dominoes contain different versions of the 5 clue. Quite a few X's in box. Now actually that's interesting. Just noticing there's quite a few X's in box 4. Now, yeah, I'm going to look at this, because the reason this has caught my eye is if we compare the contents of the consecutive digits with the contents of the X cells, include that 5 because we know what it is, you can see we can build a pattern for these 12 cells. Now that means we ought to be able to work out what these 6 cells are approximately equal to. How do we do this? So, well, we know if we were to look at the finished solution to this puzzle, something I'm sure we're going to find and locate very soon, these digits in the finished solution will be the digits 1 to 9 once each. If you add those digits up, you get 45. So I know the yellow squares add to 45. I know those squares add to another lot of 45. So these 2 boxes together add up to 90. Now here, if I know those, they're 35. These 7 add up to 35. And because we know these are consecutive, we can get an there's only 4 different sums we can use here. If this is 5, let me show you. If this is 5, then this either has to be 4 or 6, etc. So this is either 5, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, or 6, 7, 8, 9. So let's look at this one first, just have a look at this. If this is 35 plus another 35 is 70. Broken. That does not work, because that would mean in order to make the whole of the 2 boxes add up to 90, those 6 cells would have to add up to 20, and that's impossible. You can't make 6 cells in the same column sum to 20. The minimum would be 21 if you use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. And you can't even use 5 here because there's a 5 there. So this does not work. So let's look at the other way. If that was 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 adds up to 15. 15 and 35 is 50. Oh, that totally breaks. These now would have to add up to, these cells here would have to add up to 40. Well, I know the column adds to 45, and the implication of that would be those cells add up to 45 as well, which would mean those 2 cells have to add up to 0, which is clearly nonsense. So this, well, this is very good. This is very good, because now we know, if we go back to here, we've now disproved this is a possibility. This simply cannot be a 5, And that means that one must be a 5, and we get another digit. And we probably should keep going with this, because there's only 2 more versions of this left. Given these have to be consecutive, if that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, we'd get 30 plus 35, that's 65. Oh, this is gorgeous. Right, okay, this doesn't work either. It's harder to see why, but now we've got those adding up to 25. Plus 5 is 30, which means those two have to add up to 15 to get us to 45. And that is a problem for this clue, because the maximum I could make that square would be a 4, which means the minimum I can make this square is an 11, which is not possible. So this also doesn't work. I'm now hoping the last version works, or I've made a mistake. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 doesn't work. So I need to go the other way, don't I? I need to go 6, 5, because we know this is a 5. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, which add up to 20. 20 and 35 is 55, which means those add up to 35, plus 5 is 40. So these have to add up to 5, which at least looks possible. That does look possible. Right, okay, and if these add up to 5 and these add up to 5, then all the yellow squares together add up to 10. The only way of making 10 in 4 cells, if you have to use different digits, is with the digits 1, 2, 3, and 4. And just to say as well, isn't this a beautiful way of using a hybrid rule set? Because essentially the break-in here was to combine the XV rules, the sort of arithmetical properties of the X and X's, with the crop key rules. And it's exactly how you would hope a hybrid would work. It sort of takes the best of the logic from the two puzzles and combines them in an elegant way. Classic Phistomefel. So now look, we've got a 2-3 pair here, so that square there has got to not be 2-3, which means this also can't be 2-3. 1-4 pair, 2-3 pair, 2-3 pair. That's adding up to 10, so that's a 7 or an 8. Oh, and now this cell, what's the value of this domino? This can't now be 2, 8, 3, 7 or 4, 6. If it's 4, 6, we can't fill both of those squares. So that's a 1, 9 pair. Which means that 9 must be... Oh, look, this is a consecutive cell. If we know one of the cells is a 9, the other one is an 8. So this must be 6 and 7. 8, 9 pair sees this square, so this becomes a 7, a 3, a 2, a 3. 6 can't go in there anymore. So this is a 4, 5 pair, which means, look at the row. We've not put an 8 into the row yet. The 8 must go here. Which means, and this is on a black dot, so that must be a 4. These three squares are 1, 2, and 6, and one of them, this domino here, has to be in a doubling relationship. So they're 1 and 2, this is 6. That forces this triple, they're consecutive, so it must be 5 and 4. 1, 2 pair means we get the 9, we get the 1. These squares are 2, 6, and 9, I think. These squares are 3, 7 and 8. 6 here means we get the 6 and the 7 as well. And the 4 and the 1 from this 4. So these open squares here are 7, 8 and 9. One of them is definitely a 7 because this is not a 7. So these are 1, 2 and 3 because again we've got this 10 relationship between the two dominoes. And this domino here has to add up to 10 without being 3, 7 or 4, 6. And if it's 2, 8, you can see it's got to be that way round. If it's 1, 9, it can be either way round, which is a shame. This domino, is that... This domino is also restricted. Look, it can't be 4, 6 or 3, 7. So this... In fact, this domino works the same way as that domino. That can't be a 2 here either. So that's a 2 or an 8 or a 1 or a 9. 7 must be in one of those two squares. Still don't know anything about row 6 and its 2 10 dominoes. This can't be a 4, 6, look. But could be... Looks like it could be anything else. Oh, I thought that with flurry of activity was just going to carry on. I should know better actually with Phistomefel. It's like, as you go through his puzzles, he makes you sweat every step of the way, and at the end of it you sort of feel like you've been in a war. So these two squares are consecutive with those two squares. The problem is, when you get sort of 3 possibilities, these almost explode with possibilities. You can see you could have 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9 into them. I mean, obviously that can't be 4. This can't be 6. But that's still a lot of possibilities. Bobbins. 6, 5 here. No, oh dear, sorry, I'm stuck. What on earth are we meant to do now? Oh, we've got... Aha! I have something here. This is beautiful, beautiful use of the consecutive rules. Can this domino be an 8-2 pair? Now the problem with an 8-2 pair in this domino is that it rules 1 and 9 out from being on consecutive dominoes, because 1 and 9 obviously they only have one valid partner. They can only go with a 2 or an 8. So once you rule out 1 and 9 from being on consecutive dominoes in this row, you can't put 1 and 9 in those cells. Why does that matter? Well, where am I going to put 1 and 9 in the row? I'd have to put them both in this cell. And that makes this cell sort of a Schrödinger cell. It has to be 2 digits at the same time. And that doesn't work. You don't get Schrödinger cells in Sudoku, at least not in this Sudoku. So this can't be 2, 8, which means it must be 1, 9. So we get a bit of progress. Now the 3 is interesting, because if we can't... Yeah, this is lovely. So if you can't use 1 and 3 in the dominoes, in the consecutive dominoes now, where does the 2 go in this row? You can't put 2 in the yellow squares because it needs a 1 or a 3 as a partner. So the 2 can only go here, which is on a domino with a white dot. So that's got to be a 1 or a 3. These squares are 4, 5, 7 and 8 in some order. That's not 5, so that's not 4. That's not 4, so that's not 5. This is not 2. And again, you get this sort of euphoria, this brief euphoria before Phistomefel brings you crashing down to earth again as you realise it's not actually progressed you very far at all. You've got 1 digit from it and a few pencil marks, and that's your lot, sonny. Now, what on earth do we do next? 2 is interesting, look. 2's got to go in one of those squares. Now, if the 2 is on the white dot, we know its partner will be a 1 or a 3, and that will create a 1, 2, 3 triple in row 9, which looks a bit deliberate, doesn't it? So that would force 6, 7, 8, and 9 into those 4 cells, which is... useless because it's absolutely possible. Okay, that's no good, sorry. Now, so this column, we've got consecutive X. No, don't know. We've got this column, we've got 6 and 5. Then we've got 2 consecutive dominoes. And 3 sort of consecutive dominoes, but going the other way, which is less helpful. And as usual, I apologise if you're spotting some. I'm sure that there's something glaring here that I'm just not quite spotting. I say not quite spotting, I might be miles away from spotting. 2 consecutives. Five, 4, 3. No. Oh dear, this is really ground to a halt now. We can. Ah, no. Okay. Ah, I've got something, a little something. I don't think it's very much, but it's something. Where does 5 go in this column? Now 5 can't go on the X clue. We've already looked at that. It can't go in any of those squares, and it can't go here. So it has to go in one of those 2 cells. Now the interesting thing about that look is that whichever one of these it's in, this cell has to be consecutive with it and can't be a 6. So actually there is a 4 in one of these 2 cells, which means this square can't be a 4. Now I know that's not a great deal. That feels like a lot of logic to get an elimination of one cell, but so we've got 5s in one of those. Maybe I'll colour that in. 5s are in one of these 2. 4s are in one of those 2. 5s are in one of these 2. 4s are in one of those 2. Aha. I can do another elimination now. Because now we have something interesting to say about the consecutive dominoes in column 9, look. Because if there is a 4, and there is a 4 in one of the blue cells, yeah, if I've got a 4 in one of the blue cells, and I've got 2 consecutive dominoes to pick out, I'm picking from the digits 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9. So one of these dominoes has to contain a 2, and one of these dominoes has to contain an 8, because there's no other way of selecting consecutive digits from those 6 cells. That is gorgeous. Now, unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be very helpful, because if knowing that there's a 2 and an 8, actually it means that square's got to be odd, but it also means this square can't be. If there's a 2 and an 8 in the yellow cells, that square can't be an 8. So this square can't be a 7. And this square has to be odd, because it can't be 4. We know the 4 is in the blue cells. It can't be 2, 8, which we know are in the yellow cells, and it can't be 6. So this is not 2. This is odd, and it can't be 5. So this is 1, 3, 7, or 9. So which means this is even, and it can't be 4. So this is 2, 6, or 8? Oh my goodness me, this is... Now, I mean, that's amazing. That is amazing logic that Phistomefel is hidden to this point in the puzzle. It would be gorgeous if I could actually use that to make progress. Now, oh well, I can eliminate 2 from the, actually let me look at this, because now where does 2 go in column 9? It can't go here. It can't go here because of the 2 here. So 2 is in one of those 2 cells, which means it's not here, which means this square is not a 3, which means 3. Which means 3 is in one of these 3 squares. Now if it was here, that would be brilliant because we get a 7 as well. This is absolutely brutal. This can't be a 3. This can't be a 3. Good grief. Okay, why can't this be a 3? I can hear you all shouting. Well, actually, it's really not that easy to see. The reason is that you have a problem with this square, but it's not the problem you might think. If this is a 3, you can't put a 2 here. We know the 2 has to be in one of the yellow cells. It has to be in the consecutive digits. So that's easy to rule out. But it can't be a 4 either. Why can't it be a 4? Looks possible if we look at the column. The reason it can't be a 4 is the logic we talked about before, which is that I know the 5 is in one of the purple cells, and the 5 can't be next to a 6 in column 9 because of the 6 up here. So the 5 has to have a partner as a 4 in one of these dominoes. So if the 3 steals the 4, the 5 is broken. Wherever it goes, you can see if this is the 3, this is now the 5. It needs to be a 4 here because it can't be a 6, and it would cause 2 4s in the column. So that is the reason this can't be a 3. Now why does that matter? Well, it means the 3 now is on the X. Now that might be helpful because that gives us an 8 here, which means that square's got to be a 9 because it's got to be consecutive with 8 and can't be 7 because of the 7 there. So that means we get a bit of tidying up done. This can't be 9. This can't be 7. Oh no, sorry, it can't be. I think I meant to delete 7, not 8 there. I said it can't be 7 and then promptly deleted the 7. Promptly deleted the 8, you know what I mean. So now this... Oh, the 8 gives me that digit. That's now the 5, which means this is the 4. Which means these 2 squares have got to be the 7 and the 8 in row 8. This is why I need more lights. I can't actually see the keyboard. So this is now a 7-8 pair. This is not 8 anymore. So if this isn't 8, this isn't 9. Now, what do we need? We need 1, 2, 6 here. So if this... So this cell here has got to be 1, 2 or 6. Now you can see it can't be 1 because that will put a 2 here, and that's impossible because we know the 2s are going into the yellow dominoes. So that gives us a 2, 6 pair there, which means this square must be a 1. That's a 2. Four, 5, 7, 8. Okay, now I'm stuck again. Unsurprising. It'd be very helpful if I could disambiguate these dominoes. It really would. If this is 6, this would have to be 7. If this is 2, this has to be 1 or 3, I think. Oh, I tell you what we can do that's easier than this. Now I've got a 2 here and a 2 there. This square is the only place... Oh, this can't be a 2, of course. That's the thing I was missing. I've got 2's pencil mark there and there. Oh, sorry, that's a 6, that's a 2. This is now not a 7, this is a 1 or a 3, so this is a 1, 2, 3 triple. This is a 7 now. The 7 and 3 get disambiguated. This gets disambiguated, which makes this a 2. This has to be an 8-9 pair. And actually, we're suddenly doing quite well. 8-9 there. This has to be 8-7. These have to be 3-6. In fact, that's doable because that's going to be like this. Good grief. And hopefully now, actually I'm not going to say it. I was going to say hopefully we're on the right track, but that would be foolhardy. This can't be 9, so this can't be 1. This can't be 7, so this can't be 3. This domino, look, adds to 10, and this can only be 1 or 4, so this is 6 or 9. And this domino also can't be 3, 7 or 2, 8, so this is also 1, 4, 6, 9. Why does that matter? Well, that's a quadruple now, which means this square can no longer be 1 and 9, and that's a 2. Which means this is a 1, 9, 9, 8, 7, 3. That should be an 8. That looks good. This can't be a 1, 9 now because of the 1, 9 there. So this is 4 or 6. Which means, of course, this is 4 or 6. It means this square can't be. This is now a 9. This is a 1. 1 must go in one of those 2 cells. This square should be right-innable. That should be a 7 by Sudoku. Look, just complete this row. And in fact, we got very close to finishing the crop key, and it might just be Sudoku now, which hopefully we will be able to manage. Let's just take a quick stare. I think it is. So where does you can see that's a 7 by Sudoku. This has to be a 1 or a 9. There's a 9 here. So this is a 1. This is a 9, this is a 1, this is a 1. These 2 squares here are 8 and 9, there's a 9 there, so we get those as well, 9, 8. That's a 9 by Sudoku. These 2 squares are 4, 5 and 6. Let's put it in and see if we can eliminate anything. 4, 5, nearly. This square's got to be a 5 or a 6 to complete the column, and you can see it can't be a 6. So 5, 6, 4, 5, 5, 4. Does the trail run cold again? Maybe. This is a 6 by Sudoku. So that's a 6, that's a 2. That should be a 3. The 6 fixes the 6 and the 4. These squares are 2 and 8, which you can do. That's an 8. This should be a 4, I think. Check. Yes. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. There was some stunning ideas in that. This whole idea around the 35 on the left, and then what the stuff was going in this column, that was just majestic. Absolutely majestic. I expect nothing less from Phistomefel. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you can still see me. I'm sitting here in the dark. I can't see very much at all. And yeah, do come back later for another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.